Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. It had been 2 long months since he last walked through that front door. 2 months of quiet dinners, cold pillows, and the kind of silence that only someone deeply missed can leave behind. She had tried to stay strong, telling herself it was temporary, that soon, things would go back to normal. But deep down, she knew something had changed. And that night, everything did. When he finally returned, it wasn't just another evening. There was something different in the way he looked at her. Something intense. Gentle, but unreadable. She had spent countless nights imagining this moment, replaying it in her head like a movie. Would they argue? Cry? Fall into each other's arms? But nothing could have prepared her for what actually happened. He didn't speak much at first, just held her for a long time, his arms wrapping around her like he never wanted to let go. And yet, there was a kind of tension in the air. Like a secret waiting to be told. Like he had brought back something more than just his suitcase. She tried to ask, tried to read between the lines, but he kept deflecting with warm smiles and soft gestures. He wanted the night to be special. But special how? They cooked together, laughed about old memories, and for a moment, it felt like time had rewound. Like the distance and the days apart had never happened. But just as she started to relax, to believe that maybe this was a fresh start, he reached into his jacket and pulled out something that changed everything. She froze. Her heart raced. The look on his face was loving, but serious. Her mind flooded with questions. Was it a surprise? A confession? A promise? Or maybe, a goodbye? This wasn't just about a husband coming home. It was about what he brought back with him emotionally, physically, and maybe even spiritually. Sometimes, the quietest people return with the loudest stories. And sometimes, love isn't about the words said, but the silence in between. As the night unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't just a reunion, it was a turning point. A test of trust, love, and all the little things that hold 2 people together when everything else falls apart. He wanted to make it a night to remember, but for what reason? What do you think he brought with him that changed everything? Was it something romantic? Or something hidden? Drop your guesses in the comments below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, let's make it interesting. Speech balloon comment your predictions red heart # like if you've ever experienced an emotional reunion bar chart vote in the poll, would you rather know a secret right away or wait for the right moment? Stay tuned, because this story is only just beginning. She stared at the small velvet box in his hand, her mind spinning. It wasn't just a box, it was what it meant, what it could mean. Her breath caught in her throat as he looked at her with those tired, but tender eyes. He didn't speak right away. He just held it out, like he was asking for permission to say more. And even though her heart wanted answers, something in his silence made her hesitate. For 2 months, he had been gone, work, he said. A last-minute project out of state. He had called often at first, texted sweet messages, sent her photos of his hotel room or his breakfast to keep things light. But after the 3rd week, the calls became shorter. The messages came slower. And by week 6, she had started sleeping with her phone under the pillow, waiting for even a single good night. They had been married for just over 2 years. Young love, they used to call it. Full of energy, laughter, and late-night talks under fairy lights. He had always been the spontaneous one, full of surprises, the kind of man who'd bring home flowers just because or dance with her in the kitchen with no music at all. But lately, he had felt distant, like his mind was somewhere else even when he was beside her. And now, here he was, holding a box like it would explain everything. But she didn't open it. Not yet. She asked him, gently, what had really happened while he was away. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'll tell you everything, he promised. Just not yet. He wanted the night to be slow, to feel normal. To cook together, to sit on the couch and watch their favorite movie again. But that was the thing about secrets, they don't stay quiet forever. She went along with it, for now. She laughed when he made silly jokes, she helped him chop vegetables like old times, she even lit the same candle they used to light during their at-home date nights. But inside, she was waiting. Watching. Trying to read between every gesture. Why was he being so careful? What was he afraid to say? She noticed how he kept checking his phone when he thought she wasn't looking. And how he seemed nervous when she brought up certain memories from before he left. As if he wasn't sure how to react. Was it guilt? Or fear? There was a moment when they were cleaning up the dishes, he reached out, touched her face gently, and said, "I missed you every single day." His voice cracked just a little. And for a second, it felt real. But something about the way he held back, it made her wonder if she was the only one holding on to those memories the same way. The night was far from over. And whatever was inside that box, whatever truth he hadn't spoken yet, was hanging between them like a thread ready to snap. So, what do you think is in that box? A gift? A secret? Or something much deeper? Speech balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Your guess might be closer to the truth than you think. Eyes, keep watching. The next part might just change how you see everything. She finally placed the box on the coffee table, untouched. Its presence lingered between them like an unopened truth. He didn't insist she open it. In fact, he seemed relieved that she hadn't. That was the first real sign that maybe, whatever was inside wasn't meant to bring her joy, but to test it. They sat quietly for a while. The TV was on, but neither of them paid attention to it. She watched him from the corner of her eye. He was different. Not in a dramatic way, but in those small shifts only someone deeply in love would notice. The way he avoided direct eye contact too long. How he picked at his fingernails, something he hadn't done since their early dating days when he was nervous around her. He used to tell her everything, even the things that hurt. Now, he was a puzzle she wasn't sure she wanted to solve. Later, while folding laundry, she found a receipt in his jacket pocket. Her hands paused mid-fold. It was from 2 weeks ago, a boutique she didn't recognize. The item listed, one necklace, with initials engraved. But it wasn't her initials. Her heart skipped. She read the paper again and again, trying to convince herself it was a mistake. Maybe it was a gift for a relative. A co-worker. But her gut whispered otherwise. She tucked the receipt back without asking questions yet. Meanwhile, his phone buzzed on the table. He looked at it, froze for a split second, and flipped it over face down. She noticed. He knew she noticed. But still, silence. That was the strange part, they were acting like strangers under the same roof. Pretending to be okay for one night, while a storm built quietly under their smiles. She wasn't sure if she should ask. Did she really want the answer? Was she ready to know if this night, this so-called special night, was his way of easing her into a truth she couldn't undo? Or was it something else entirely? And then there was the box again. Still untouched. Still glowing with mystery. She thought about their last conversation before he left 2 months ago. They had fought, nothing serious, but enough to leave a mark. She remembered saying something about feeling invisible. He didn't reply then. Maybe tonight was his reply. Just 2 months delayed. There were too many loose ends now. Too many questions. Why did he leave in such a rush? Why did he come back with such weight behind his smile? Why hadn't she opened the box? Maybe deep down, she already knew the answer. And yet, despite all of it, she still loved him. That was the part she hated the most. Even with all the doubt and distance, her heart still leaned toward him. But love alone doesn't erase secrets. If you were in her place, would you confront him now or wait to see what he reveals next? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you found that receipt? Red heart # like if you've ever been in a moment where you wanted answers but weren't sure if you were ready to hear them. Pushpin, stick around, because the truth is closer than ever, and the next part will make you question everything. The rain started quietly that night, tapping softly against the windows like a warning. She stood near the kitchen sink, staring out into the darkness, the receipt still in her pocket. The question burned inside her like wildfire. Who were those initials meant for? Every possible answer felt like a thread unraveling, and the harder she tried to hold things together, the more they slipped through her fingers. He walked in, drying his hands with a towel, acting like everything was fine. Too fine. His warmth, his kindness, his soft words, it all felt just slightly off, like someone trying to play a role they weren't sure about. She couldn't tell if it was guilt, fear, or something else entirely. The box still sat on the coffee table, untouched, but now it felt louder than ever. "Are you okay?" he asked, watching her too carefully. She nodded. "Just tired." But it wasn't the truth. And they both knew it. They moved through the evening like dancers out of sync. Every word they exchanged felt like it was hiding something underneath. Every look he gave her felt like he was searching for the right time to say something. Or maybe waiting for her to ask the wrong thing. She decided not to ask about the receipt. Not yet. Instead, she tried to bring up the past, casually. A memory from their honeymoon. A song that used to be theirs. She watched him closely. He smiled, even laughed. But when she mentioned a small jewelry shop they had once wandered into years ago, his smile faltered. Just for a second. That's when she knew. There was something. She excused herself, walked to the bedroom, and sat at the edge of the bed. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out the receipt again. She stared at it under the dim bedside lamp, tracing the initials printed next to the necklace's name. Still not hers. Still no explanation. And that aching question pulsed louder now. Was this all a cover? A distraction? Had he changed while he was gone? Or had she simply never seen him clearly before? When she walked back into the living room, the box was no longer on the table. Her heart stopped. "Where's the box?" she asked, her voice sharp before she could stop it. He turned to her, startled. I thought you didn't want to open it." "That's not what I asked." The pause between them stretched longer than it should have. And then he finally said, "I needed to make sure you were ready." "Ready for what?" she asked. And just like that, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. The room went dim, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He walked slowly toward her. Not in anger, but with a strange sadness in his eyes. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something she hadn't seen before. Not the box. Something else. And in that moment, everything she thought she knew was about to change. But what was it? And why did he wait until now? Speech balloon. Comment your theories. What do you think is hiding? Eyes keep watching. The next moment is where everything begins to unravel. Red heart # like if you've ever felt that split-second panic when the truth feels one step away. She stared at his hand, barely breathing. What he pulled out wasn't the box, it was a small envelope. Sealed. No writing on the front. Just plain and quiet, like it didn't want to be noticed. But she noticed. Her eyes flicked from the envelope to his face, searching for a clue, a hint, anything. He didn't say a word. He simply handed it to her. Her fingers hesitated. The envelope was light, almost too light. Whatever was inside couldn't be much, but somehow it felt heavier than the whole room. She peeled it open slowly, her heart thudding in her ears. Inside was a folded photo. Old, slightly worn at the edges. She unfolded it carefully, and the moment her eyes met the image, her world tilted. It was him. With a woman she didn't recognize. They were laughing. Close. Too close. A beach in the background. Wind in her hair. His hand around her waist like it belonged there. She looked up at him, feeling the floor shift beneath her. "Who is she?" she asked quietly. He ran a hand through his hair and sat down, his voice low. "I didn't plan for you to find that. Not like this. Not tonight." The room felt like it was shrinking. "Just tell me the truth," she said. He nodded, but there was a hesitation in his eyes. "I met her during the trip, the work one. It wasn't what you think at first. I was lonely. We talked. That's it." But over time, he trailed off. It became more. Her chest tightened, but she stayed quiet. Not because she wasn't angry, but because something didn't add up. The photo, the necklace, the envelope, it was all too careful. Too staged. And why bring it back if he wanted to hide it? Then came the twist she didn't expect. "She's not just someone I met," he said. "She's someone from before you. Someone I thought I'd moved on from." Her eyes widened. "She reached out while I was gone. Said she needed help. That she had a daughter, and that the girl might be mine." Silence. It didn't even feel real. The air in the room got thick. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Everything inside her screamed to ask more, but her voice wouldn't come. I didn't cheat on you, he added quickly. Not since we've been together. But the timing, the overlap from the past. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. Until now. She stumbled back a step, eyes stinging. All this time she thought it was something recent. But it was something old, something unfinished that had found its way into their new life. And now, it wasn't just about trust. It was about family, truth, and choices. So now the question wasn't just what's in the box or who was in the photo. The question was, what comes next? Speech balloon, what would you do in her place? Confront it head on or walk away? Pushpin, comment your thoughts below. This is the moment where everything can change. Eyes don't go anywhere. The next part takes this story to a whole new level. She stood frozen, that photo still in her hand, her mind racing through every second of their past. Every kiss, every fight, every quiet morning with coffee and sleepy smiles, it all felt like it was cracking under the weight of this one truth. A possible child. A woman from before. And all of it hidden until now. He looked like he wanted to close the space between them, but something in her eyes made him stop. The space felt sacred now, filled with questions too big for words. I didn't know how to tell you, he said quietly. I wanted to be sure before I said anything. I didn't want to break us if there was nothing to break. Her voice finally came, soft but sharp. You should have trusted me with the truth. He nodded, guilt written all over him. She sent a letter. A test. I haven't opened it yet. I thought, maybe you should be there when I do. That's when he reached into his jacket again and this time, pulled out a second envelope. She took it slowly, the air thick between them. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. A test result. Her eyes scanned the page until the words came into focus. Paternity test. Negative. She let out a shaky breath. Her knees almost gave out, but she caught herself on the edge of the couch. The storm she thought was about to destroy them wasn't real. Not in the way she feared. He sat down beside her, not touching her, just watching her carefully. I never stopped loving you, he said. Even when things felt messy. Even when I was scared. She looked at him, really looked at him. The man she married. The man who, despite the fear, brought the truth back home. And yet, something still lingered. What about the necklace? She asked. He reached into his back pocket and finally handed her the box. She opened it slowly this time, her heart still pounding. Inside was a delicate necklace, with her initials. Not the ones on the receipt. Confused, she looked up at him. I bought two, he said. One to return to her, a closure gift. Nothing romantic. Just something to mark the end of that chapter. And one for you. I didn't want your gift to be tangled up in all this. For the first time that night, her eyes welled with tears, not from pain, but from the unbearable weight of it all. Truth, fear, love, and now relief. She leaned into him, finally letting herself breathe. And just when she thought the night had given her everything, his phone buzzed. He checked it. His face went pale. She saw it instantly. What is it? He hesitated. It's from her. What does it say? He looked up, the color draining from his face. She says the test was a lie. That she changed it. And that she's coming here. Tonight, speech balloon, what would you do if your past showed up at your door? Fire comment your reaction, because this story isn't over just yet. Eyes don't miss the final chapter. Everything is about to change again. She stared at him, the air between them no longer just heavy, it was electric. His words echoed in her ears. She changed the test. She's coming here. Tonight. Her heart raced, but this time, she didn't panic. Something in her shifted. All this time she had feared the truth, feared betrayal, but now, she felt grounded in something stronger. Her own strength. He stood up and locked the door, his expression torn between fear and disbelief. I don't even know if she's serious. I didn't think she'd go this far. She looked at him, really looked at him. Do you still have feelings for her? No, he said without hesitation. Whatever that was, It ended before I even met you. I just didn't deal with it properly. And I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this. Outside, headlights swept across the window. A car. Then silence. She moved slowly to the curtains, peeked through. No one. Just rain and the hum of a quiet street. But no knock came. No call. The message turned out to be a last attempt, a final pull on a thread that no longer held anything. Hours passed, and no one showed. In the days that followed, things weren't perfect. They talked. Argued. Cried. But this time, it wasn't about what was hidden, it was about what needed healing. He blocked the woman's number. He showed her every message, every detail. No more secrets. She wore the necklace 1 week later. Not because she forgot everything, but because she chose to forgive and start again. They agreed to rebuild, brick by brick. There were scars, yes. But there was also something deeper now. A shared decision to face the hard things, not run from them. And in that choice, love had a chance to grow stronger. Some nights, she still looked at that old photo. Not out of pain, but as a reminder. That even the most complicated stories can have honest endings. Not perfect ones, but real ones. Speech balloon, how do you feel about this ending? Would you give him a second chance? Let us know in the comments. Red Heart # if this story made you feel anything, drop a like and subscribe for more powerful relationship stories. Pushpin, and if you want a sequel, tell us below. There might be more to their journey than you think.